Okay, we're ready to go.
You set, Laurel?
It's loading. All right, you're live.
We're good.
Okay, then I'll call this regular meeting of the Leelanau County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority to order. I'm going to ask for someone in the building to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Set.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we move on to roll call. Dennis Boucher.
Present.
John Ahrens.
Here.
Rick Foster.
Present.
T.F. Taxidius. Not present. Chet Vanek.
Present.
And I see that we have Ty Wessel as our representative from the county board.
Here. Thank you.
Welcome, Ty. Director Trudy Gala
Here.
and Kathy Egan is here. So we do have a quorum. Is there any public comment? And I should announce the phone number, correct?
Yes.
Please.
All right, so if you have public comment, please call 231-256-8109. We'll give it a couple seconds, but still call in, and if someone calls in, we'll jump back to public comment. We can move on to director comments.
No comments.
How about a question? Did you, I have a question about the MAP webinar that you were proposing a time slot to show. Did
Yes.
that take place?
A little different than what we expected because it didn't run properly here. And so I ended up just sending the link out to those members and a couple other participants who wanted to see it so they could view it on their own.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Go on to consideration of the agenda. Is there anything we need to add or change in the agenda?
The only thing I need to throw in there is I do need to leave no later than 15 after 11. So I don't know what that might do to your quorum, but I want to speed things along if we can. I'm just throwing that out there.
Thank you. We will still have a quorum if we go that long, so we're good.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, a motion by Chet, a second by
Support.
Ty, to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Show of
Aye.
hands and voice. Okay,
Aye.
that passes. Does anyone have a conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest with anything on the agenda? Hearing none, we move into our annual organizational items. First is election of officers. We can throw out nominations for chair. We'll do it one by one, chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. There's 3 positions. So we can throw out all the nominations. Please feel comfortable to nominating yourself. This is a small group, and if you want any of these positions, just speak up and say so. Do we have any nominations?
Kathy Egan for chair.
There's one. Anyone else want a nomination for chair? All right, hearing none, I guess we will vote on Kathy Egan for chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, then I will continue. We will need a vice chair to step forward and run meetings in my absence. Current vice chair is Dennis Boucher. Are there any nominations? And all nominations for vice chair?
All right, I'll continue since no one's speaking up. I'll nominate Dennis Boucher as the vice chair.
Support.
Is there any other nominations for vice chair?
Kathy,
Yes,
I have to ask, how long is this term for?
1 year.
Okay, that's good then.
Yes, yep. We do this every January, so it's all for 1 year
Okay,
terms on the executive
that's
board.
about what I have left as far as my appointment goes.
Okay. Hearing no other nominations for vice chair, let take a count. Who, for those in favor of Dennis Boucher as vice chair?
Aye.
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 Congratulations, Dennis.
Thank you.
And then third is the secretary treasurer. Current treasurer is Rick Foster. Are there any nominations
I'll
for
continue
secretary?
it, and I'll nominate Rick Foster for secretary treasurer.
Support.
We have a nomination by Chet, support by Ty. Any other nominations for secretary treasurer? Okay. Hearing none, we will take a vote on Rick Foster as secretary treasurer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations, Rick. So the executive
Thank you.
slate stays the same as it currently was in 2020. So we move on to the approve and authorize users for the bank account. Normally it is the treasurer and the chair who are the signers on the bank account. And Trudy, since that hasn't changed, is there anything we need to do at this point?
I think just a motion to reaffirm that in case the bank asks for anything again this year. We have changed over to TCF Bank. And so we have a new contact, so I think it would be good just to send that information over.
All right, so we need a motion to approve Rick Foster as secretary treasurer and Kathy Egan as chair to be the signers on the bank accounts.
So moved.
Moved by Dennis. Support by Ty. Support by Ty. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. So then we consider the meeting schedule for 2021 that was in our packets.
Kathy, can I interrupt for a moment?
Absolutely.
There's one other item, just a small item, but again, I told the bank I felt better just bringing it to you. I think it's a no-brainer, but the bank contacted me and they've made changes. So our interest-bearing account that we have for checking, they are changing that. So right now we earn interest, but we do not get a monthly fee. They are changing that to a $10 monthly fee, which means the interest that we are getting on there will not be enough to cover the monthly fee. They would like approval to move that into a non-interest bearing account with no monthly fee. And in the future, if interest rates come back up and it makes sense to put that back into an interest bearing account, we can do that. But I'd like something from this board that I can give to the bank saying, go ahead and move that to a non-interest bearing account.
Okay, so let's word a motion and put that out there for discussion. A motion to approve the director to transfer the current accounts into, I'm going to say other accounts that would reduce. Yes.
To move the interest-bearing checking account into a non-interest-bearing account.
Okay, so that's the motion that someone should make. Dennis is making the motion.
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, and was that John seconded that?
Yeah.
Okay, so a second by John and open for discussion. Hearing no discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So that motion has passed. So now we'll move on to the 2021 meeting schedule. Dennis, you have something?
Yes, I'd like to move that we accept the 2021 meeting schedule.
Okay, motion by Dennis.
I'll
Support.
second that.
Support by Rick, got there first. So let's open that up for discussion. Do all those dates make sense? None of them on a holiday or anything,
They're all on a Tuesday.
following the Land Bank Authority.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor of accepting the meeting schedule as presented?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So the meeting schedule is adopted. Well, let's move on to our bylaws. They were in our packet and Trudy had a couple comments on that, that she included in the bylaws. Do you want to review that, Trudy?
Yeah, actually what I want to point out to you is what I pointed out to the land bank in the earlier meeting, is that I took these documents and sent them to corporate counsel because the county is reviewing all the bylaws and policies and procedures. And I think you have some redundancy here, as the land bank does, between these documents. So I've asked the attorney to tell us what we have to have, and then perhaps from there we can kind of streamline these and cut these down some.
So that has not happened yet. That's in process?
That's in process. So what the land bank did is they still gathered a few more comments and suggestions from members at the meeting this morning, and then we're putting it off to the February meeting to wait for corporate counsel's input on it.
Okay, so the suggestion is that there'd be no action today, because there'll be more presentation on it, hopefully in February.
Yes.
Does anyone have any more comments to send to Trudy about the bylaws? Dennis?
Will we all shortly thereafter be presented with a hard copy?
You mean after they're approved?
Yes.
Yeah, whenever they're finalized by this board, I will clean them up and everyone will get a clean copy. At this point, I think we need to wait for corporate counsel to do their review and get that back to you first.
I'm good with that.
All right, I didn't have any further comments on the bylaws, but we have time. If anyone does have comment on the bylaws, please forward those to Trudy and she can include them in the collection that she's pulling together for us.
Who is corporate counsel?
It's Cole, Stoker, and Toski from Lansing.
What is it again?
Cole, COHL, Stoker, and Toski from Lansing. They've been our corporate counsel for many years and handle most county governments in Michigan.
Any further comment on the bylaws? We can expect to see them again on hopefully our February agenda, but soon. And then we move on to our policies and procedures. Is that the same? Are they reviewing those, or is that just purely in-house, Trudy?
Those are for you to review.
Okay. And you had a couple comments in those as well about the developer agreement being redundant.
Yes.
I think we should only have the wording and the order of repayment in one place so that we know that it is always up to date. If we end up having a separate development agreement process and in the policies and procedures, then you're never fully positive which one is the most current. So is that what your comment was saying, Trudy?
I think you're referring to page 10 of the packet, is that correct?
I have to look it up, probably.
Yeah, what I was pointing out there is that, you know, in here, we're stating that they have to provide a minimum of 10% of the funds required for a project. I'm wondering if we need that anymore. We already have that listed in the fee schedule for the applications. And the fee schedule, you know, sometimes you review it a couple times a year. I don't know if you want to go back and keep reviewing the policies and procedures all the time or make sure that these things both mesh. Should we just keep it in the fee schedule and remove it from here?
Yes, it should be, I feel it should be in the fee schedule, and that's what we keep up to date.
Yeah, it seems to make sense.
Because,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so we can make that change. You also had a comment on page 16 of the packet.
Right. Because we have a policy on tip collection and dispersal. Basically, it's dropped right here into the policies and procedures. So I don't know if you want to keep it in here or just reference that you have a policy, similar to referencing that you have a fee schedule.
I would like to do both of them the same. You know, reference the other document and keep the other document up to date, so it's only in one place. Does that make sense to people?
Yes.
Yes, it's me.
Mhm.
And I think those were the biggest changes that I had. Everything else were just some minor corrections on dates and so forth.
And changing MEDQ to Eagle.
Yes.
Anybody else have any other comments on the policies and procedures? They're getting shorter, Trudy, which is nice. It rarely happens.
Well, Jeff shortened them the first time.
Yeah. They were quite long the first go around. They were a 3-ring binder long. They were an inch thick. So, does the board want to see those changes back next month to then adopt them, or is that how you want to do it, or do you want to approve anything today?
Let's see them next month.
So I'm hearing that you would like to see the changes that we just discussed in writing in our packet next month, or when we bring the bylaws forward. We can do it that way.
I would say we bring the bylaws forward.
Okay, so I don't know if we need a motion on that. We'll just, by consensus, table that, put that off until the bylaw presentation.
Good enough.
How's that sound, Trudy?
Sounds good.
Okay. So now we're on to our minutes. So we're starting our meeting now. We're going to consider the October 20th meeting minutes.
I'll move that the minutes be approved as presented.
Seconded.
All right, so we have a motion by Chet, a second by John to approve the October meeting minutes as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye,
Aye.
and raise my hand.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion passes. Then we go on to our consent agenda with one item on the consent agenda. Anyone have any comments on the consent agenda or a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Whoops. I'll second.
So motion by Chet, a second by Rick to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. So that passes. We're on to new business. New business number 1, consideration of partial loan payment to the county. Page 24 and 25 of our packet. So when we formed 12 years ago, Trudy?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, we borrowed money from the county. No interest, and it's just sitting out there that we still owe them that money back.
how much do we owe? In total?
100,000.
How much?
100,000.
Well, I think if we're not paying any interest on it, you know, I'd like to get a loan like that. I say we parcel it out over the years.
Trudy,
What we had,
go ahead, Trudy.
oh, I was just gonna say that what we had put into the budget for 2021 was a $10,000 payment. So that shows on page 25 of your document, almost to the bottom where it says county payment. If you go over to the right.
I didn't
you'll see
get those,
10,000.
Trudy, because of the holiday.
What's that?
When you sent the packet, I didn't receive it because of the holiday yesterday.
Okay, but you got it in the email? Were you able to
Yeah.
open it in the email?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it's listed in this budget for 2021 that the Brownfield Authority will pay back 10,000 of that loan to the county. And that basically represents the savings that we realized from redoing the loan with Eagle on the Leland property. You also have money that's still sitting in what I call the Leland escrow fund. So if you look on page 24 of your packet, the second line down says municipal money market, and over to the right, it has a balance of $121,353.52. So when this group started, there were costs that were incurred on the Leland site that the Brownfield Authority was paying for. Partially the reason why money was borrowed from the county to keep this board operating. And then with the sale of the property, we were able to document everything we had put into that piece of property and bring that back. So that is why that balance is sitting in that account. And we were trying not to use all of it up because we have to make sure there's enough TIF coming in every year on the Leland site to continue to pay the loan payment to the state. And that's why we didn't want to just deplete that whole fund. But you do have money available that you can start paying back this loan. And then I asked Jeff if he'd also be in on this meeting today because he could explain a little more about the TIF and where we're at with tracking that, how we're doing with those dollars and what we might see available in the future for paying back any costs, including administrative costs.
Anybody have any comments and questions? Dennis, do you want to discuss further the idea of paying them back over time?
I just said my piece on it, that's all. If it involves discussion, go ahead. But I'm good with what I said.
So Trudy, it seems like 10,000 would be a reasonable amount. It does not put us at risk. And we've been talking about paying it back here for the last couple of years, at least starting to pay it back.
Right,
But we always want to make sure we have enough assets, and I think we're to that point, right?
yes,
I mean, that's why you recommend the $10,000 payment?
Yes, but I did want to see if Jeff had any
Yeah.
input on that as well with regard to the TIF and our obligations on that site.
I don't have an immediate response to that, Trudy, right now. I think what we talked about is that it's our intent to bring to you next month, kind of some actionable items with respect to tax increment financing cash flow through the tax tracking system for eligible activities that can be reimbursed on multiple brownfield plans that we've got in place, including the courthouse redevelopment project. And a couple other things we need to look at too is not only the obligation that we ultimately have with Ross Satterwhite on the courthouse redevelopment project for that match, 20% match on the EPA grant dollars that we used. I mean, I would think that $10,000, that's not a problem with respect to what we anticipate. My suspicion is based on the development and build out on the courthouse redevelopment project that is behind as far as tax revenues are concerned, because obviously I think only one property now. I think they're all been sold, but I don't, there's only been really a new one being constructed, unless there's been a new development that I'm not aware of. But the other thing that we need to consider too is that at some point we have another obligation to pay yourselves back into the revolving loan fund related to the EPA revolving loan fund grant that we use to capitalize that revolving fund. And we'll have to look at that because at a certain period of time, we can kind of either go forward with that or we can kind of just dissolve it and make it go away. But we can talk further on that. That's a bit out, a ways out. So I apologize. I don't have an exact number for you, but I think for the $10,000, we're good, but we should be coming back to you here in February with a better understanding of what needs to be done, and you guys can authorize some reimbursements.
So does it make sense to wait till February to make a decision? There's no need to make it this morning, is there, Trudy?
No, it's not an urgent thing, but I wanted to make sure that it was in front of the Brownfield Authority so that everyone understands that according to this budget, we are being expected to pay back at least 10,000 to the county on that loan.
So we can have further dialogue and take action at a future meeting?
Yep.
I suggest we just wait till at least next month, put this back on the agenda for next month. But I think it would be good to make a first payment this year. We've been talking about doing this for several years.
Yeah, this is something that we don't want to forget about or take for granted. We want the county board to know that they invested well and to, that the Brownfield appreciates their faith in their work and, got them up and running, and we're independent now.
Yeah.
So we need to pay them back. So we will put that actual payment back onto another agenda. So we move on to our consideration of an amendment for the general services contract with EnviroLogic, because this is nearing an end or nearing the end of the budget in the work order amendment that we have going, one or the other.
The actual agreement goes to the end of this year. However, the funds are going down. I remember correctly, and Jeff can correct us on this, but I believe we're below $2,000 now for the rest of that agreement. And usually we take a look at this to see if we need to make a modification before we get too far along.
I think we've, the estimate that's, or the budget that remains is about 1,000, just it's 1,999, something like that in the remaining budget. I think we've been, depending on the level of activity, we've been budgeting probably anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000 annually for the work that we've been doing as needed.
So the 1,000 and change is not going to last us another 11 months.
Probably not.
No.
But you can, but it depends, how many projects come your way and all that type of thing. So
if we ask for an updated amendment, and again on next month's agenda from EnviroLogic, we can get a new budget amount for the year. We won't know if we get the EPA grant that we've submitted for a couple more months yet.
May, June.
But that would, we would need you for that. If that should be a successful grant, we would definitely need the services. So can we request, Jeff, that you bring up an amendment to us next month?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else to add, or that doesn't need to be a motion? All right, that's good. We can move on to our financials. Page 26 of our packet. Rick, as treasurer, do you want to make any of these motions to pay our bills?
I move that we pay our bills.
Support.
Okay, how about if we add, Trudy, is the total amount the 169.50?
Yes, it is.
All right, let's add that number into that motion. Pay our bills in the amount of 169.50. All right, go back to my meeting screen. Rick made the motion.
Amendment accepted.
Okay, Rick made that motion. And who is a second? I missed that part. It was Ty?
I'll second it.
Ty beat you, Dennis, so Ty's the
Okay.
second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Okay, that motion passes. We're on to our correspondence communication items. Rudy, was there anything added
Nope,
to
I
add?
don't think-
All right. Back to public comment. And if there's any public watching, and the number to call is 231-256-8109. And we'll move on to director comments while we wait for our public to call in.
Yeah, just real quickly on the claims and accounts, and this is something I'm gonna put on my calendar for the end of this year, is you'll notice both of those invoices were for 2020. The one that came from Eagle, I never received that. They sent that out like September. And then they sent me a reminder that this was not paid. I let them know we did not receive it and we would not be able to pay it until January, which is fine. However, the reason I'm pointing this out is because they're both 2020 invoices. They have to get posted back to 2020. And I checked with the accounting department here. We were fine because we were underspent with our 2020 budget. However, if we had gone over with these, we would have had an issue. So I'm gonna put it on the calendar to make sure in December that if we have any outstanding invoices, where that puts us, we may need to call a special meeting just to make sure those get approved and paid in 2020. And if there's any changes to the budget as done in 2020.
So the county's fiscal year is January to December?
Yes,
Okay. All right, so that's just a note for upcoming every December.
right.
New practice we have to incorporate. Okay. Any other director comments? Or,
No.
All right. Any member comments?
Yeah, just I want to give a brief update because it's been in the paper about Sugarloaf Resort. You probably know that it has been sold. There are new owners. The spokesman of the group is Ross Setterwhite, who was part of the group that bought the former courthouse property. He wants to make it very clear he is not one of the owners. He's just a spokesman for this group. Probably the most exciting news is they have entered an agreement with Jeff Hawkins and Environmental Logic to start the cleanup process. Once again, that's been in the paper, and we had a joint call last week, so I'm optimistic that there'll be some progress made about Sugarloaf in the future, at least in terms of the cleanup and demolition of some of the buildings.
That is good
I
news.
don't
It's been,
know, yeah, and I don't know if they'll come back to this group or not, because as you know, the former owners came back to us, did phase one, and never followed up with phase two. So I do not know at this time, but I'm glad that Jeff and his company is involved with the cleanup process, and hope to go out for bids here and at least start the project here shortly. But, you know, it's been, this March will be 21 years since the resort closed.
so it's good. This actually feels, and I've said this before, it feels like something might actually happen this time.
Yes, yeah. They are clear that there's no plans yet for the property or the resort. First step is just to clean up and potentially demolish some of the buildings. We are an eyesore and I think a health and safety hazard also.
Okay.
So I was glad to hear that Jeff was involved with the project.
And Jeff is raising his hand. Jeff?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Chet. I was just going to mention that the process, as he indicated, moving forwards with respect to demolition and so forth, but we've already started with respect to accumulating, like there's been miscellaneous materials inside the buildings of various chemicals and things like that. We've already started in collecting and separating and segregating, and hopefully here in the next few weeks, we'll have that out of there too. So process is already underway.
That is good news.
To your knowledge, is there any underground storage tanks over there?
If that question is directed to me, there were actually, and thanks to the Leelanau County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority under your EPA grant, your last one, we used funds to remove the last known remaining underground tanks on that site. So those are out.
Okay.
So the first step is to get a clean site. Clean slate, clean slate.
Correct. It's our plan right now that it's basically going to be the main hotel resort area that's going to be brought down, and the maintenance garage that will probably remain at this point. And I believe the runway right now is going to remain, but the main problem is going to be down.
Okay. Yeah, we could keep us posted, Jeff. We're all invested in this. Thank you. Are there any other member comments? And hearing none, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move.
Dennis moved and Rick supported. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. That was unanimous and we are good to go.
Take your truth and
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.
And you're 15 minutes earlier than you need.
Well, it sounds like February will be busy.